other people also share that same anger. So when I'm yelling at like a transphobic person, for example, I don't even know if I should say what I yell at them, but or like a white supremacist racist, or someone who's denying the in Gaza. Sometimes there are moments.
All right, swapped it.
God forbid.
Swapped it.
God
you guys
forbid.
don't want to know what Marsh was talking about.
God forbid a white boy get a little motion.
You guys. Wait, did we bring the light?
Yeah, I have it. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't need it just yet, but I have it just in case.
Yeah. Okay.
Starting tonight.
Good to have it. Good to have it and not need it, than to need it and not have it.
Hasan, I'll be wearing the silky.
And the bust down?
And the bust down AP.
Okay, where is that from? Where is that from? Explain yourself.
Chat knows what I'm saying.
It's
because you don't know. That's okay that you don't know. You don't need to be on everything.
That was quite the topic change. Yeah, whiplash. I know, you guys were learning about Order of Nine Angles and how they organize this stuff, and then all of a sudden, boom. Back to a car. Out of nowhere.
What did somebody say? I'm gonna execute this chatter. What did they say? Where'd you go? Stop hiding him. Oh my god, I lost him. God damn it.
Wait, what did he say?
He was complaining about the light or something. I'm like, bro, we're pointing at the ground. Okay, I can make it brighter. We're just pointing at the ground. Anyway, mod surprised that guy.
You should 100% go check out my mom's cafe. She runs it on her own. It's called Casbah de Vancouver. She cooks bomb North African food. If you want the best couscous in North America, you have to visit. She also would probably hook you up with so much if she knew you were Turkish. It's crazy, bro.
Is there solidarity there with the Turks?
Yeah. A little bit. You can go either way. How's BC so far? It's beautiful. Vancouver is beautiful. Yeah. I already told you, this is like a Valorant e-girl server.
Beautiful British Columbia.
It's crazy.
No comment.
Never seen anything like it.
From me.
W ad. Bro, stop. Montreal next. Hasan, you look handsome, but unbutton the blazer. Yeah. Is Hasan ovulating? Yeah, I'm ovulating. All the 2009 scene girls live in Vancouver now. Ha ha ha. I don't know what that even means at this point.
Explains a lot. I'm gonna point at the roof, okay?
What?
I'm gonna point at this.
Why?
Because I want to.
You can show at this point, I think.
Okay. I just think it's really pretty. Okay, fine, I'll just show you. God damn it. So needy all the time.
No. Dude, look at the creasing. Like, dude, the stitching is coming off. I'm so cooked.
Guys, I got the Giga Ultra Zoom lens for these talks. So you guys they can see every fiber on your pants right now.
If I flex my quads and my hamstrings at the same time, it feels like I'm gonna explode out of the pant. I'm a little uncomfortable. I haven't worn a suit in a minute.
Let the record show I told him to wear the other fit.
You did. The other fit was pretty good too.
I mean, they're both fine.
The other fit was more non-traditional, but I wanted to go with the traditional look this time. But ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and MBs, we are in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And we are on our way to University of British Columbia right now. And the reason for why we're going to University of British Columbia is because I will be talking. I will be delivering a speech that I did not write for the Phil Lind Society, or the Phil Lind Initiative at the University of British Columbia. We are mostly going to be talking as a part of a series called America First. Hold on, I'm gonna read it out to you right now.
Yeah, he's America First.
Yeah, America First, America Alone, Global Politics in an Age of Uncertainty. That's the speaker series that has started by the Phil Lind Initiative in 2026. The resurgence of America First driven unilateralism is reshaping the global order. As the U.S. moves further from its post-war role as a global leader and consensus builder, the 2026 Lind Initiative investigates the evolving drivers of U.S. foreign policy under President Trump, the weakening of multilateral institutions, and the rise of rival powers like China and Russia. What happens when the world's most powerful country stops playing by the rules it helped to write? And who steps in when it does? From hard-hitting journalism and critical foreign policy analysis to political commentary and provocative art, this year's speakers interrogate the consequences of America's disengagement. Together, these conversations explore the fragility of alliances, the realignment of global influence, the future of democratic norms in an era marked by rising authoritarianism, contested truths, and geopolitical uncertainty. Whether through headlines, histories, or cultural critique, each speaker offers a lens into what a post-American world might look like and who stands to shape it. And some of the speakers, it was Thomas L. Friedman who was the first speaker for this America First.
Who's that? For the chatters that don't
Thomas
know,
Friedman
I know who that is.
he's a horrible neocon. And then it was Charity Whedon, who I'm not very familiar with, and then it's me, and then it's Dred Scott, Rachel Maddow, and Carlos Lozada. Thomas L. Friedman is a 3-time Pulitzer Prize winning New York Times columnist and best-selling author. Charity Whedon is a former NASA associate, administrator, and global space policy leader. Dred Scott, interdisciplinary artist and activist challenging the ideals of American society. Rachel Maddow, Emmy Award-winning journalist and host of The Rachel Maddow Show. And Carlos Lozada is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and opinion columnist for the New York Times.
I can't believe you're opening for Rachel Maddow.
I guess you could look at it that way. The series moderator that I will be speaking alongside is Nojang Khatami, assistant professor of political science at Fordham University in New York City, born in Iran. He is an alumnus of the PhD program in political science at UBC, was a postdoctoral fellow at the Justitia Center for Advanced Studies at Goethe Universität Frankfurt, and currently serves the co-coordinator for Islamic Studies at Fordham Lincoln Center campus. His research and teaching interests include democratic theory, literature aesthetics, revolution and resistance. Khatami's current book, project, Rewriting the People, Exile and Resistance in Comparative Political Thought, examines expressions of dissent against oppressive political structures with a comparative analysis moving from Iran to North America. His public scholarship has appeared in the Progressive and Boston Review, and he is the co-host and the new podcast, Politics and Exilic City. That's who is going to be interviewing me or moderating this discussion. There's a bunch of questions that are going to be coming up about, authoritarianism, rising overseas. Should we be critiquing it? What should we be saying? I suspect that will be a part of the discussion for sure. And more so, American authoritarianism, fascism growing in the Western world, the failure of liberalism and multilateral treaties and what that means for the future of the world, really. So, good stuff that I'm invested in, and that's part of the reason why I'm wearing a suit today, okay? Now, as is expected of me, usually these things start with a speech, I think, that I'm supposed to write, and as is expected of me, I did not write a speech at all. I'm just gonna freestyle off top dome like I did at Trinity College, like I did at Oxford Union, like I did everywhere else, like I did at the Palestine rally in DC. So don't expect anything other than me. I'm Freestyle Andy. You already know what it is. Czech pronunciation of Goethe. Is it Goethe? Are you going to meet up with Avi Lewis, NDP leadership candidate, and Naomi Klein's husband? I think so. You look very Turkish from this angle. I don't know what that means. Me and my girlfriend think you look hot. We're both lesbians, so not just thirsting. You're doing great. Less spam, I promise. I will not be meeting up with Ryan Letourneau, also known as Northern Lion, the Lion of the North, because he is very much against multilateral treaties falling apart. And as a consequence of that, as a big Mark Carney advocate, Northern Lion has decided he's putting his foot on the ground. He is no longer collaborating with any American. I'm just making shit up. Ooh, Tim Horton. Tim Hortons. Oh, a cultural institution.
Have you been yet?
No, have you?
I've been many times in my life.
Oh yeah, you've been. Yeah, because you lived here practically.
You know what a Timbit is?
No. What is it? A Tim Tams with coffee or something?
No, a Timbit is basically what us slop pig Americans would call a donut hole.
Oh yeah. I've never been to a Tim Hortons.
And
But
Timmy's,
yeah.
they call them Timbits.
Le bit de Tim. Le bit de Tim. Tim's is shit. Do not go there.
It is pretty trash.
Tim Tams are Aussie cookies. Yeah, I know.
Also true, yeah.
Tim's is sucks, but is a must try. Okay, you're giving me mixed signals. Does it suck or is it a must try?
It's like Nando's, except Nando's is better.
Yeah, Nando's is edible.
In the sense
Sometimes
that,
the
in the
only
sense
thing that
it's
you can get that's edible in Londonistan.
Yeah, in the sense that it's a nostalgic institution regarded highly by the locals.
All right, while we're here, we might as well read this GQ article about China maxing. Hopefully I can read it.
He's still learning.
Yeah, hopefully I can read. GQ's article title is Why Internet Stars Are China Maxing. No, I meant like, I hope they don't paywall me. By Andrew Fedorov. On the other side of the Great Firewall, there is no YouTube, but there are more than half a billion people who watch streamers. What happens when America's top creators introduce themselves? For the American traveler who imagines he has a borderline healthy relationship with his phone, a trip to China is instructive. First, the Great Firewall cuts you off from the social feeds and algorithms that govern your media consumption back home. Without resorting to a VPN to bypass these blocks, there is no access to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Gmail, X, or TikTok. As your digital world goes quiet, you realize just how much of your daily intake is noise. But just as you're starting to appreciate the silence, new portals open up. More than anywhere else on Earth, to get by in China, you have to live through your phone. This is true. You pay for almost everything with QR codes on super apps. Public transit tickets come in blocky patterns in the same apps. And ordering at restaurants, that time-honored respite for the lonely, is via QR access mini programs in the apps. Living through Chinese apps, you start to get sucked into their social layers, which automatically translate into English. The hostel is a group chat that buzzes constantly. The guy who sold you spicy rabbit heads keeps sending you memes. Even on the far side of the Greater Firewall, there is no escaping the noise. After 2.5 months in China last year, I started to fantasize about throwing my phone into a gutter. At least one group of Americans is more intrigued than repelled by this thoroughly digitized world: streamers. To the biggest Western content creators and their managers, the business logic of building a Chinese following has long been apparent. There are over 1 billion internet users in China, and unlike live streams have already been popular entertainment for a decade. In 2016, it was recorded that more than half of those billion were regularly consuming the format. Because all American platforms are blocked in the country, it represents a massive untapped market for creators. January 2024, Mr. Beast, the most subscribed creator on YouTube, dipped his toe behind the Great Firewall by posting his first video on the Chinese platform Bilibili. Ni hao, he greeted Chinese viewers. Influencers' excitement over the Chinese market runs against America's abiding policy on China, which involves stoking a trade war and raising fears about a war. But a countervailing tendency was already emerging among the left liberal pundits who envy China's solar panels, widespread electric car usage, and high-speed trains. And among younger Americans, see, this is what I mean, the left liberal dichotomy. It's like, I don't just envy China's electric grid and renewable initiatives. I also envy the power of central planning. I do envy that. The interest in not waging war overseas, costly wars overseas that end up destroying entire countries, but instead focusing on building its own infrastructure, even development. Focusing on a more tolerant approach to international trade, or focusing on a more tolerant approach to maintaining international relations, rather than naked imperialism and war profiteering. In January 2025, as their government threatened to ban TikTok, massive Americans preemptively joined the Chinese social media network Red Note. Our generation and younger are so tapped into China in ways that an older person cannot comprehend because of Red Note and TikTok. The leftist streamer Hasan tells me there are spots that they want to go to. Last March, 20-year-old Darren Watkins Jr., who broadcasts more than 45 million YouTube subscribers under the moniker I Show Speed, or Speed for short, became the first massive Western creator to go on a highly publicized tour of the country. I can't believe it. I will never be able to beat that. Like, that's true. He did do that. He acted as a He acted as another catalyst, changing attitudes on both sides and inspiring boiling envy among fellow live streamers. Piker was so jealous, so sour over Speed's trip that Chinese internet users started calling him Lemon Bro. I've been wanting to go to China for many, many years now, but I think it was much easier to convince people, he says. Speed going was huge for a lot of people in our industry because they saw how sick it was. Speed had dreamed of visiting China since he was a little kid. More recently, he'd seen snapshots of the country's fast-blooming cyberpunk landscapes populating his feeds and sought out Chinese anime. So the People's Republic wasn't entirely unknown to him. And he, in turn, wasn't entirely unknown there. His content had slipped through the Great Firewall, clipped from his accounts on the blocked international platforms and reposted on Chinese apps. Even before he launched his own Chinese profiles, Speed had gained so much traction on Chinese siloed internet that fans bestowed on him the nickname Hyperthyroid Bro, because of an expression he makes frequently, which features bulging eyes and neck superficially resembling the symptoms of the condition.
Wait,
Most commonly, yeah, you didn't know that? Yeah, they don't have the best nicknames for us, I'm gonna be honest. Most commonly associated with an ICE agent. In Shanghai, Speed met his first Chinese fans within 5 minutes of turning on the camera. Within 20 minutes, a mob had formed around him. He spent the next 7 hours dodging the swarm while trying to discover the city. Every stream is going to be like this. I think Shanghai is going to be the worst, though, because there's so many people here that know me, he predicted. I think other cities will be more calm. He couldn't have been more wrong. In Chengdu, a crowd surrounded him before he'd even emerged from the van, in which he recorded his introduction. "Oh my God, China is crazy," he said. As he moved through the city, his bodyguards formed a protective circle, but fans, teenagers, and middle-aged men alike flung themselves through the gaps, grabbing at him and screaming that they loved him. Members of the renowned local rap group Higher Brothers, who were meant to accompany him during the stream, bailed part-way through because of the pandemonium. "I want to keep streaming, but you have to calm down," Speed shouted at the crowd. "I can't do what I gotta do if everybody is ah-ha-rah-rah-rah-rah. You break the rules on Chinese social media, your accounts are just gone," says streamer Jake and Bake. "It's really annoying." In Chongqing, drone footage showed an entire block of people churning behind him. I asked Jackson Liu, a local content creator who guided Speed through the city, what those moments had been like. "Have you seen The Walking Dead, World War Z, or 28 Days Later?" Liu said. "It felt like that. For the local influencers who joined him, the experience was totally unprecedented. That kind of situation I've never seen before," Ryan Chen, a Chongqing native who's built a following in China and abroad, as Chinese Trump tells me. Of course he's got bodyguards, but the bodyguards cannot completely shelter him. Many of the people who showed up weren't longtime Speed obsessives. They'd simply caught the virus and taken to the streets. The majority of people who are going up to him to yell his name or take a picture, they don't really know who he is. They just saw him trending in China, insanely trending, so they wanted to be a part of that, says Jake Abramson, the American who's been streaming from China as Jake and Bake since 2018 and joined Speed on a cable car ride through Chongqing. He created those fans. The pioneering nature of Speed's trip was a part of the reason why fans flocked to him, but his extraordinary ability to orchestrate a crowd, to interact meaningfully on a mass level, must have been part of it too. It was a Western influencer really interacting with Chinese people in a way that hasn't really been done before, said Olivia Plotnick, the founder of Y Social, a Shanghai social media marketing agency. You have celebrities and pop stars visit, but those tours are very out of reach of the public, whereas I Show Speed was going to all these different cities and interacting with people on the streets very freely. Other influencers have hesitated to venture in because of the arcane rules of Chinese social media, which is highly censored in ways that are rarely publicly spelled out and far from intuitive to outsiders. Creators love to do what they do because they get to be who they are, says Zach Katz, CEO of Fixated, a content creator representation firm. If all of a sudden there's this lens of moderation on your self-expression, does that make you want to do it more? No. For creators who decide to invest time and efforts into building a presence on Chinese platforms, a small blunder can be disastrous. You break the rules on Chinese social media and your accounts are just gone, Abramson says. It's really annoying. The Shaolin soccer actor Zhao Wei, for instance, not only had her accounts deleted for reasons that were never explained, but her name was scrubbed from the Chinese internet. Those are the most extreme cases. Sometimes banned keywords like Tibet or Taiwan are simply starred out. To be clear, these hurdles, Speed worked with East Goes Global, an agency that has helped NBA stars enter the Chinese market. They helped launch him on Chinese platforms and initially connected him with local creators like Liu. But the partnership broke down shortly after Speed's first stream in Shanghai. My personal guess is that they think it's a little too risky, says Liu. They worried that Speed was going to do something stupid on the live stream and offend Chinese culture or society. Plus, Liu recalls, Speed hated the first agency. I would have reacted the same. Like, how can you abandon us and drop us after our first live stream? With support from the Asian American record label 88 Rising, Speed regrouped and pressed on. Neither East Goes Global nor Speed responded to requests for comment. Chinese embassy in Washington, D.C. praised Speed's work as bridging cultural gaps. The country's government-sponsored influencer visits in 2025 The country's government sponsored influencer visits in 2025, but Speed's team insisted he hadn't accepted any state funding, and his broadcast showed sides of the country that state media has resolutely ignored. "I'm racist," one woman dressed in an anime cosplay in Chengdu told him. "Wait, I don't think you understand what you're saying. Do you speak English?" Speed asked her. "Yes, I am racist," the woman reiterated. "Bro, hell no," Speed said. "What the fuck is she saying?" Another time in Shanghai, a man shoved a KFC bag at him through his car window. When Speed opened it and found a banana, the man started hooting like a monkey. These weren't the only time Speed encountered such attitudes during his trip, but they didn't seem to be the norm either. Which, by the way, out of all the places he visited, objectively, I would say China was one of the least racist places, even though, of course, racism is, anti-black racism is such a universally shared value. But it is pretty crazy to think, like, I mean, Poland was like a nightmare scenario. They were Falun Gong agents? Okay, stop coping, dude. Let's be real. Anti-blackness is, again, universal. It's a universal experience. You can talk about how it became a universal experience, and that's fair, and how it even made its way to China, in spite of the firewall and you know, the Chinese development through periods of time, but the reality of the matter is it's virtually impossible to fucking ignore. Okay? Oh, to be fair, yeah, he did go to Africa. His Africa tour was the least racist of all places. I apologize, my mistake. On a tourist boat under the, I meant like non-black places he went to. On a tourist boat under the lights of Hong Kong skyline filtering through the foggy evening, Speed met a young woman from Shaoxing. It was the longest he'd been away from the ravenous crowds, and in the stream it seemed as if time was contracting for him. He asked if 10 minutes had passed and was informed that it was more like 40. The woman told him she followed him on Douyin, TikTok's Chinese sister app. Her timbre was high and childish. He called it an anime voice and asked her to say Pikachu a few times, cracking up each time she squeaked it out. She told him she'd been made fun of for her voice all her life. "I'm 25 years old, but my voice is like 10 years old," she said. "Some people don't like this voice. They always laugh at me." "Don't listen to them," he said. That was a beautiful moment.
That was really nice.
Yeah. "You just have to stay strong and be you at the end of the day. People are going to hate you all the time. It doesn't matter if you're the best or the most perfect person in the world. People are going to hate. You know what I'm saying? You have a nice voice." She seemed moved. "I believe you," she said. They fist bumped. "People talk about me all the time. People say I've got a big nose. I'm musty. I'm black. I'm trash at football. Like I'm one of the best football players in the world. You telling me?" Speed said. "They don't understand you," she told him. "But we can grow up. We can get stronger." They reached across the divide with a touch of vulnerability. "That's right," he said. "W speech, bro."
Wow. Feels strong, man.
That's so funny. Okay, yeah, W speech, bro. Speed's trips launched an armada of influencers on their own China journeys. Gaming streamer Pokemon went twice in 2025. Standing across an intersection from the Loewe store in Shanghai, she joked about the resolution of the city compared to her home. "It looks like 4K LA. 720p. Over Peking Duck a few days later, she mused, "I worry that it's really great now, and in 3 years it'll be ruined by tourism." On his first day in the country, Agent 00 met Jackie Chan. Lacey and Jason the Ween, formerly of Face Clan, swung through too. Even the Nelk boys, who'd aligned themselves with Trump in the last election, were enchanted. They were nervous when they first got off the plane, afflicting, this is what I told this, I told the journalist to pursue this lead. In our conversation, I was like, look into the Nelk boys, because he was like interviewing a bunch of people that went to China, and I was like, the one that's really interesting is the Nelk boys, because they literally thought it was like North Korea, and then they went and they were like, it's fucking awesome. So I'm glad he did pursue that lead. Who'd aligned themselves with Trump in the last election were enchanted. They were nervous when they first got off the plane, afflicted by the unfamiliar feeling of encountering the unknown in a superficially hyper-connected world. That last feeling like this was, I think, Russia, said Kyle Forgeard? I don't know how you say his name. Nelk Kyle. This is one step closer to North Korea, but after a few days, he declared, China is kind of like America, except everything is in Chinese. This is not what I expected. Later, he concluded, China is lit. According to Aj Louis, a businessman from Kunming, who helped plan their trip and party with them across the country, they've discussed plans to return in 2026. For Hasan Piker, China represented more than an untapped market of a shiny backdrop for content. As a socialist, he looked to the achievements of the Chinese Communist Party, which has run the country since 1949, to see what its values and ideals look like when put into practice. He wanted to experience a country where leftists are in charge, rather than the outliers on the niche entertainment platforms. In the lead-up to his trip in November, Piker could hardly contain his excitement. When Joe Biden's former FTC Commissioner Lina Khan approached him in the hallway at the Ronald Reagan Building and International Trade Center in D.C., he bubbled over, "I'm flying to China, and then I'm going to be there for a month," he told her. "I'm going to start distributing videos on Chinese platforms. I've been saying for a while that this is the next frontier of reaching a huge number of people that are like-minded with ourselves." He believed American leftists and people living in socialist China would have a natural affinity akin to the solidarity post-colonial countries often express for Palestine. It's like when you speak with an Irish person from Ireland, not from America, and automatically they get it on certain issues. I don't need to convince you on anything. You already understand it. And in China, there's a similar attitude towards having your government work for you. We hyper-focus on the social repression, on the civil liberties, or not even civil liberties necessarily, but free speech and things like that. But in terms of good governance, there's a lot we can learn from the way they perform out there. At least they get results. Honestly fair, Khan said. Looking back on this meeting, Piker tells me he might have overdone it. You know when you say something to someone and you think about it afterwards and you're like, what did I do there? Piker says, she was so shocked that I was talking positively about Chinese governance. That reinforced how unusual his position was in America. I love Lena, but I forget that she's a capitalist through and through, he says. That's why her response actually stuck with me. I did. I was like going on and on about how awesome it is when the Chinese government is in central planning, and I was like not receiving the reaction that I thought I would be receiving from her. And then I forgot that like Lina Khan is the pure like trust buster from a purely a capitalist perspective. Piker isn't entirely starry-eyed about the Chinese system. I'm a political commentator, right? I would not be able to do what I do to the same degree in China, make no mistake. I probably could do what I do in China with respect to every other country. But if I had the same gripes that I do with Donald Trump, for example, with Xi Jinping, that would not work. Luckily, that wasn't among his problems. On his second day in Beijing, Piker woke before sunrise to stream the same sort of commentary he delivered from his home in LA. In my heart, in my soul, in my mind, in my conscience, I have already become Chinese, he told viewers, before turning to his first impression of the country. It's fucking sick, okay? You have abundant style consumption paired up with centrally controlled economy and economic system that has yielded tremendous development. You have 1950s Soviet-era building blocks next to the Gucci store. If there was ever a country that represented the synthesis of the things I enjoy so much personally, if ever such a country existed, I do not know. When he wrapped the commentary portion of the stream, he and his 10-strong crew of influencers and facilitators made their way to Tiananmen Square to witness the flag-raising ceremony. It was just above freezing out. His friends were bleary-eyed and cranky. I'm somewhat of a vampire where I stay up super late, and we had to get up at 5 a.m. to do that, recalled Will Neff. All the pomp and circumstance aside, I was already like, fuck this. I would never do this fucking shit in any country, let alone China. Piker, on the other hand, was visibly buzzing. His excitement was momentarily checked when a policeman approached them and asked to see their phone. The sound cut out and the screen went black. They turned on the camera back a few minutes later and watched the rest of the ceremony unimpeded alongside Chinese people who traveled from all around the country to see it. It wasn't really a big moment for us, but it was a big moment for Newsweek and all these other news outlets that covered it, where they were like, Hasan Piker, communist detained and killed and arrested and thrown into prison for having a brief 2-minute conversation with a cop at Tiananmen Square who thought we were fucking around, that we were white Westerners who came to make a mockery of this place that's very important, Piker tells me. I've had far worse physical altercations with American cops. I mean, I've been tear gassed by the French police. I've been tear gassed by the American police. I've been pushed around by the American police. I've been arrested, handcuffed, had guns pointed at me, lethal weapons pointed at me, less than lethal weapons used on me. So obviously, if I'm ranking those experiences, it doesn't crack the top 10 worst. Mm-hmm. All right, there. We're here, by the way. Yep.
Gonna do chest cam for a bit for safety reasons, chat.
Okay, happy birthday, Simone. All right, get pictures. You matter quick. We gotta go.
Yeah, we gotta go. Yeah, be quick. Hi, Marsh.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Are you guys?
Is that guy hiding behind the dumpster? What was that? Yeah, we're still live right now. Hello. Hi, March. Nice to meet you.
We're live.
This camera is live, so just a heads up.
Yeah, just try not to get our staff.
Yeah. I'll keep it low key till we get to the green room or wherever you're taking us.
Hi, sorry, I'm back. Follow me. Get yourself in.
Hello. Hi.
So you're ready?
But yeah, how big is the space?
The venue, the main venue is 1,400 seats.
Oh wow, and it is sold out in like 3 minutes, you?
Yeah, we almost crashed the website, so.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the website immediately crashed, and then when it got back online, within a few hours it was done.
Are they holding? Can you guys hear it or no?
They can.
Oh, they're saying perfect now.
Right, this spot we're good.
Yeah, we're good here. That's crazy.
Well, make sure they got the 3 minutes sold out.
Yeah. Hope we're doing better than Thomas L. Friedman.
Yes, you were faster.
Yeah, you hear that, New York Times?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to Wi-Fi this through.
Are you discording the team?
No, I'm just Googling.
I'm gonna try to find the.
The problem is I need to go meet with the AV team super
Yeah,
quick.
you can just leave me with the camera here. Hold on. How do we
I should seat you somewhere at least.
get on Wi-Fi?
We do it live, chat. We do these things live, okay? Sometimes there's gonna be issues.
But that Wi-Fi is not gonna be good enough anyway. It's a standalone, I don't think.
I think plus the Sims will be good.
There's no better Wi-Fi for monitoring.
No, it's not. That's not the problem.
The problem is that we don't know how to. This is a newer bag that we've never actually had to like connect to the Wi-Fi on because we've never had a situation where the thick concrete actually impeded on receiving signals. So we're trying to figure out how to even connect to the Wi-Fi if it even has that availability on the TVU backpack that we currently have.
Also, Chad, I'm intentionally aiming the camera away from any sort of staff or people that aren't Hasan, hence the interesting framing, okay? Like, connect the pack to Wi-Fi, yes.
Signal is okay right now? Yeah, but we're trying to figure out if there's, well, is it okay? Is it going in and out?
I'm watching the stream, yeah. It's pretty cinema right now.
That's what we're saying. I can't read the rest of this GQ article now, which kind of sucks, but... Or they were just putting my choice quotes on the GQ article. Did I say CQ?
The backpack people are like, we've never had this issue.
We've never had this issue before with a TV backpack?
In
Yeah.
settings, there is a Wi-Fi tab, yeah, but it's just a...
It cuts every now and then, and when it does, it's like a brief moment of patchiness.
Hold this for 2
but
seconds.
It's not that
Put
big
your
of a
drink down, hold this
problem.
for 2 seconds.
Wait, hold on. Wait, both the camera and the backpack?
No, just the camera.
Just the camera? Oh, okay. Oh! Almost pulled the camera off. I don't think there's a way to do it. Is he saying there's a way to do it?
But it's just QR codes. I'm just going to send him a picture of what I'm seeing.
Okay. We are working on getting...
He said, you will send the left QR code and then the right QR code. Got it. Okay, got it.
Is it taking a photo of the QR code going to be enough?
No, I will do it on mine.
Okay.
Just scan the left QR code and the right. Yes, sir.
Hold on. I have to have this weird angle, chat, unfortunately.
We did this in a bomb shelter.
This is the difference between 5'11" and 6 foot.
Okay.
You're 5'11", I'm 6 foot.
Oh.
How long is the, sorry to call you guys off, how long is the intro speech that I have to do? Not long, right? 15 minutes. 15 minutes?
Do you guys have the UBC private by any chance?
I was gonna freestyle.
The UBC private.
I didn't realize.
The UBC visitor should just have a login
Yep.
page and you go,
No, I know.
It might just
Oh,
be this
fuck. No. It's the other space is worse, but this is fine.
This is the better of the two spaces.
Oh God, I forgot it's a 15-minute speech. Oh my God, is it fine if I don't do 15 minutes? Okay.
What's the 15 minutes?
The intro speech.
The intro speech, and then it's a Q&A, so
Incisive
what's the?
commentary on American foreign policy at this moment.
Yeah.
My boss is on his way.
I do that. I do 8 hours a day, so I usually lean into that. But there's a difference between just going up on stage and riffing versus writing a 15-minute speech, you know?
And then what happens for the rest of the time? Is it?
There's a Q&A.
And
Yeah.
we can go into that as soon as.
As soon as I'm floundering and failing and flailing around. Okay. I'm so stupid. Is it still, are you still?
Here, you can put the chair over here so you can stand a little bit more comfortably. So the problem is that you basically need to activate the Wi-Fi through the phone.
Mm-hmm.
But because there is a landing page, it's like accept, acknowledge, and all that,
Oh.
that barrier.
It's stopping you from being able to activate it.
Exactly.
So it's better if there is no landing page and you go to like a secure one or whatever that has like an
Just
intro
immediate
login.
connection, yeah.
Yeah.
That looks good. I'm worried it might be too red.
Okay. See if I can find anything less saturated.
Yeah, I'm worried. Can you just go with just white?
Add song and dance to your speech. I'm so
Looks like
fucked.
me.
I didn't realize it was 15 minutes. Chat.
Yeah. I just
I'm
see basically
fucked.
a piece of white.
I thought it was like I just go in there. I'm like, hey, America first means everybody else last, haha. And then we sit down and we do a Q&A.
Switch to the land settings tab.
Fuck.
Showing the phone and stuff.
I'm just gonna get up there and start singing Red Sun in the
Okay,
Sky.
hold this again. This is so complicated.
Mandarin version. White boy speaks perfect Mandarin, perfect Chinese.
It's extremely non-intuitive, but we will get it.
I wish this was a beer. What about the right one?
You scan both of them.
Oh, you scan both of them. That is not intuitive at all.
The first one to put your phone on the bag's Wi-Fi, and then you scan the second one to enter the landing page as the phone or as the bag. And then if you have a landing page that requires authorization, you need to go to land settings, and then you need to do some other bullshit.
That's crazy.
But I think I got it. And then you do the drop down. Click right.
It's what you do when you get that ticket. You just go into sponsors.
I can't do that.
We're ready for you. Just read chat. We got you, bro. Sit down and write some bullet points. I can't even sit down. We have to do this camera thing right now. So I can't even like go.
Yeah, if you just give me the password of the private one, that'll fix.
Okay, well, hold on. Let's mute the microphone before, or let me leave.
We're not gonna say any passwords on this.
Yeah, don't say anything right now.
But yeah, why don't you just
Okay, March is gone. Hold on. Look at the bag. Oh. That's crazy. It's too heavy. Normally we don't use this arm as much. We only use the arm when it's stable. So yeah, I have a 15-minute speech that I'm going to be delivering, which is not going to be 15 minutes, let's be real. And then after the 15-minute speech, that is not 15 minutes, we will be, holy crap, I got so many notifications. After that, I'll be doing a Q&A, Not entirely certain as to how long this goes, but you look like the worst bodyguard.
Okay, so they're all gonna have landing pages, which is probably gonna cook us.
Did you ask the team what it looks like if there's a landing page? They all have landing pages.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to work through right now. But
Oh, he sent the PDF.
I'm currently doing that.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, notes. Mention heated rivalry. Timbits.
Carter, do we want to do like a quick nudging thing as soon as they have this?
What else?
Yeah, give us like 2 seconds, guys.
No, I'm
Yeah, I just need a second.
all right, you guys talk it out. Powerful middle power alliance. Should Canada lead a global middle power trade, security, and digital alliance?
Straight to the bag. But yeah, I would touch base on that right now. I think
Middle powers can develop sovereignty through cooperative agreements against the domineering force that has been America, the driving force behind the New World Order, the liberal internationalist order part. These middle power alliances would do best to recognize
well, it's stable in here. Okay, well, let me try to get this.
Don't sweat it, authors. I have no problem accidentally talking for 15 minutes. This is very bisexual lighting. Yeah, I know.
Is it too dark?
Tom Freeman got a comfy chair, L amount. No, I have the same stage, chatter. Use your platform to address the rise of freightophobia rampant in our country at this time. Tell the Economist joke, dink donk. Mark Carney's speech at Davos was supposed to
Okay, waiting for them to reply.
signal a different. Yeah, that happened to me too earlier. Okay, good. So I'm not alone.
You
Mark
just gotta
Carney's
tighten
speech
it
at
a little
Davos
bit.
was supposed to signal signal.
Damn, this is bisexual lighting.
Yeah, signal the passage of the former liberal order.
Let's go check how the stream's doing. Hey, stream's stable.
Much like the fascist movements of the past. And then I throw in the Gramsci quote. The old world is dying. A new world struggles to be born from the ashes. Now is the time for monsters.
that the right quote?
Because it takes over my Wi-Fi to the bag's Wi-Fi when I'm trying to connect it. I can't talk to the Discord guys when I'm actually attempting it. So I have to get an answer from them and then go in and try it.
Just hit him with the J Sakai settlers? Okay. Enable captive portal if you have that option. It's so funny. Chatters are literally trying to...
I know.
Yeah.
I promise you guys what we're dealing with. It's because the package is random when I turned it off. Okay, cool. Should be able to do it now. Hold this again.
Got it.
It's like, I promise no chatter has experience.
You met me at a very
Thing that we're doing
bisexual
right now.
time in my life. How are the chairs on the stage? I don't know. Chat, is the speech over? I fell asleep? No, I haven't even written it yet.
I'm surprised you're writing anything at all. I'll be so...
A new world is birth maxing, and the old worldoids are being monster mogged.
I hate you so much. Please connect.
Talk about how progressive meat picks can change the world. Mm-hmm. Talk about the ASU frat guy. Don't jester Max on stage. You don't have a team to write this shit for you, dog? What makes you think I have a team for anything?
How's it looking? The wavy team just needs your key string
Yeah,
or string key.
Oh,
yeah. Do you want to try that?
for what
I think that
reason?
might be all you can do because you won't have
Well,
good.
I think we'll have, if the room is open like this, we should have connection,
It
but
won't be good. I can promise you that.
we have like 8 SIM cards in there. I'm pretty sure it'll be...
He can go test it. He can go into the room right now with the camera.
Yeah.
Not show anything.
Yeah.
Let's go
As long as
look.
you don't get any in the audience.
Yeah, I'll check.
Let's go look at it.
Yeah, you... Yeah.
Sure. I mean, oh wait, as soon as you got up, it went green screen. Okay. Yeah.
And can we pull you aside for
Yeah.
just checking in with our moderator?
Okay,
Yeah,
chat box, I'm taking you.
Sorry for the B-roll. Situation is oftentimes a little bit more difficult, you know?
Yeah.
Is it not working? What's happening?
It literally changes step to step of like where I'm standing.
Okay. I mean, I have internet. It's just Chatterino's not. Oh, it's working now.
I basically just can't move from this spot.
Perfect.
Yeah, right here it's good.
You didn't miss the speech at all.
The
Super
speech is over.
unstable. Can't take bro seriously with the suit. Yeah. Oh, also, I met some people. I met some fans. Some of you guys that are normally in the chat. And earlier when we were trying to figure out how to like put the feed that you will get that you saw, and they immediately clowned on me and said, "Nobody wears suits in Vancouver. What are you doing? You look like you're 40. You look like a drunk uncle." Just lasered me, just peppered me with commentary. And it's the one time that I wore a suit. I never wear a tie, even if I do wear a suit every now and then, and it's like a unique suit. This is the most like clean-cut, normal outfit that I've ever had. And I got absolutely destroyed
And I was like, I immediately shifted the blame onto you guys, and I was like, well, I wore this because like chat told me. And then they were like, why would you ever listen to chat? Which, again, that's like, yeah, why would I ever listen to chat? Devastating maneuver. Oh, this? It's just the lining of the pocket. So, you know, I'm cooked. I'm cooked. I'm cooked. My zipper was unzipped. I just realized that too. This is L after L after L. Anyway, we got like 5 minutes remaining. They're going to do an introductory speech, or not an introductory speech. They're going to intro me. They're going to intro the moderator. The moderator's going to intro me. I'm going to go out there. We're going to flip it over. We're going to flip it over to the regular live stream. You'll see us on the regular live stream. And then after that, we'll say our goodbyes and we'll peace out. And then I will do the CBC interview and Q&A with the student fans. So excited for all of that. There will be a Q&A portion. Most of it is going to be Q&A. There's like a small, brief introductory speech where I'll come in, you know, and paraphrase a bunch of quotes from much more intelligent people than myself and butcher them and slaughter them. And then talk about how American dominance is not necessarily great for Canada, nor is it great for even the American working class. And that as the world struggles to find an alternative, I think there are some countries that have focused on their own personal development. Countries, of course, I'm referencing to, such as China. And I'll talk about how I think middle powers, as Mark Carney referenced Canada and many others, have a unique opportunity to go against American hegemony in this moment, not as an act of defiance. What is that? Open presence. Thank you for the 100 gifted subs, Jesus Christ. Not as simply an act of defiance against anti-imperialism, but an act of sovereignty in order to maintain national sovereignty, in order to maintain their cultures, in order to make sure that their citizens don't get the worst end of the bargain, as they have been consistently with American international trade engineering. There are numerous initiatives that are at play right now, whether it be the BRICS nations, but the EU could be a very strong contender as a powerful bloc on its own against the American hegemony. And I think now is the time for self-preservation for these middle powers.
Why are you spoiling the whole speech?
I'm just literally freestyling right now, so I'm trying to figure out where I will go from here.
Pre-watched.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to remember all that, or just say all of that. Yeah, I'll just play the VOD. I'll be like, here, this is what I did say. Hopefully I don't just like brick when I see this crowd. People are coming up to me like, are you nervous? People have been saying you're nervous. I'm like, maybe. Pre-speeched.
Yeah, you're gonna be fine. They're gonna have to cut you off.
Sweden has elections in September. Watch Gentleman's Gazette. They have good tips regarding suits. Ah, chatter. Oh, chatter. Okay, perfect.
Okay, cool.
3 minutes. And then when it starts, I'll swap it over there. So we'll do that.
There's water on the stage for your Q&A. There should be one at the podium. Is there anything else you need?
No, I'm good. We're going to freestyle it.
This is your first time in Canada, right?
First time in Canada, first time in Vancouver, first time wearing a suit, really. I don't really do any of this stuff, so
Maybe that's how you should open.
that's what I'm gonna. Yeah, so I'm gonna open it. If only I smoked cigarettes still, this would be a good time. I would hit one right now.
Inside the...
Not in here.
bunker.
Go outside, just rip a bogue.
Do you want to hang backstage and get that shot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'll do that.
But
I'm just kind of following.
I mean, it's
Oh, we're gonna swap it over to.
Well, yeah, let's.
Oh, we're
Okay.
moving?
Let's
All
swap.
right, everybody. I'm swapping it over to the main ingest so you guys can actually get a feel for the crowd to the best of your ability. You'll be seeing me in a little bit. I'll be live.
Thank you. I don't usually get such a nice applause from you guys. Thank you so much. My name's Allison McFarlane. I'm the director of the School of Public Policy and Global Affairs here at the University of British Columbia, and it's really a wonderful pleasure to welcome you all to this evening's event. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that we're gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Musqueam people. This land has long been a place of learning, exchange, and dialogue, and we're really grateful for the opportunity to gather here tonight. I also want to begin by thanking the Lind family, whose generosity sustains the Lind Initiative and makes these public conversations possible. We're sincerely grateful for their continued support. So, for those of you who've joined us before, welcome back. Who are here for the first time, welcome. The Lind Initiative brings together diverse public thinkers to engage with the most pressing political and social questions of our time. One of the defining features of the initiative is its role as a public forum for serious, open inquiry. It's a space where complex ideas can be explored and debated in public, a space where perspectives are tested, challenged, and interrogated thoughtfully. The purpose of this series is not to deliver settled conclusions, but to create a space for careful, critical examination. Against the backdrop of our current political climate, marked by polarization and increasingly siloed forms of public discourse, this mission feels more important than ever. It's important to be clear about the role of this initiative. We're not here to endorse any speaker's views. We're here to convene conversations with the voices who are shaping public debate. And in that spirit, I hope over this evening and this series, more broadly, you hear something you disagree with. Not because disagreement is an end in itself, but because grappling seriously with competing arguments is central for democratic life. And we are at a university, after all. We ask everyone here tonight to help us model that kind of engagement. Listen carefully, challenge ideas with substance, and treat one another and our speakers with respect. Finally, a few logistical notes. We'll be taking questions later in the event using Slido. You can submit questions and upvote questions by visiting slido.com and entering the code that is displayed up there on the screen. And as always, a reminder to silence your cell phones. It's now my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this evening, Dr. Nojang Khatami. Nojang is an assistant professor of political science at Fordham University in New York, and we're especially proud to note that he's an alumnus of UBC's PhD program in political science. Yes, and he's happy to be back. His research focuses on democratic theory, resistance, literature, and revolution, and his forthcoming book project examines dissent against oppressive political structures from Iran to North America. His public scholarship has appeared in The Progressive and the Boston Review, and he's a co-host of the podcast Politics and the Exilic City. We're delighted to have him back to campus to guide tonight's conversation. And finally, our featured guest speaker this evening, Hasan Piker. Hasan Piker is one of the most prominent political commentators of the digital age. A widely followed creator on Twitch, He reaches tens of thousands of viewers daily, engaging a large and politically active online community in real-time discussions of news, policy, and global events. His perspective has been shaped by firsthand experience with democratic backsliding and authoritarian politics in both Turkey and the United States. His work represents a new form of participatory political media, blending commentary, activism, and community building in ways that are reshaping how younger generations engage with politics. So please join me in welcoming Hasan Piker.
I bet Thomas Friedman didn't get that kind of reception. Anyway, no disrespect to all the previous guests. I'm actually probably going to deliver a much worse speech than everyone that came before me and then everyone that will come after me, including but not limited to Rachel Maddow. Especially considering that I just found out that I'm sharing a stage and a program with Thomas Friedman and Rachel Maddow approximately 10 minutes before I got out of the car. And I walked in, and they told me, "Oh, you have a speech," and I was like, "Oh yeah, you know, like a 2-minute speech, something like that." And they were like, "You signed on for 15 minutes." And I thought to myself, "Well, I done did it again. This is probably like the 20th time that I've done one of these sorts of college speeches where I just come out on stage and start blurting it out, and I have no understanding of what the event is, but I'm gonna try to do my very best. Especially considering that I speak for 8 hours uninterrupted, or usually interrupted with chat. It's not gonna be too difficult, I hope. But today, obviously, we're gonna be talking about one of my favorite subjects to discuss. According to all my naysayers, including the CIJA, I believe. I don't know if they're in the room right now. Sorry, I'm sorry that you guys couldn't stop me from coming to Vancouver. But I'm gonna be talking about one of my favorite subjects, according to my haters, which is America bad. I think a lot of Canadians have learned that lesson if they weren't aware of this concept, except for the Albertans, that America is, as a matter of fact, somewhat of a parasitic force in the global New World Order. And it was actually one of my only failed predictions of 2025 when I thought that Pierre Poilievre, am I saying that right? Poilievre? Doesn't matter. This college campus is so woke, you don't even... Anyway, one of those guys that's usually well, I guess he wasn't really, but usually the Conservative Party from where we're standing in America always tries to be American for some weird reason. And I guess because of Donald Trump, that really backfired spectacularly last election cycle for you guys. And I thought he had a real shot, until I found out that Canadians do value dignity and sovereignty and don't want to be annexed by the United States of America. Which is a very healthy attitude to have, especially considering that I think with this last iteration of our beautiful President Donald Trump's attempts at forcibly annexing Greenland, which is a part of our NATO security cooperation. Someone should tell Donald Trump that. Especially after that, we saw many European leaders openly take to the stage at Davos and say, we'd rather be happy vassals than angry slaves. And I thought about that quite a bit. And I thought about Mark Carney's speech quite a bit. And I think that there is a failure of the previous liberal international order and consensus. And I don't think it's necessarily just Donald Trump, even though we like to talk about him as the harbinger of doom.
The reality of the matter is these systems have been collapsing for quite a while. If you're in the third world, if you're in a developing nation, you already know exactly what it's like to be on the receiving end of endless amounts of bloodshed and domination. Now, of course, people of my political background have been talking about this for years. Lenin was one of those people that talked about it quite a bit. Imperialism being an absolute necessity as a global capitalist order, as profit rates have a tendency to decline. And we've seen this endless militarism and endless domination in the global south, in countries that are in the periphery, at the behest of super profits for international capital. But unfortunately now, America's appetite for instability and all of the potential promises of said instability for international capital has put new targets in its crosshairs, as Mark Carney and many others have talked about, middle powers. We're talking about the European Union, Canada, and many other countries that are stuck between what seems like American domination and the global liberal capitalist hegemony, and potentially the rise of regional powers such as Russia that do not shy away from irredentist action and oftentimes violent military conquest, and the behemoth of manufacturing that is China. Now, as you guys already know, BRICS nations have realized that this bargain of American domination was not always going to work out well for them, and that's the reason why they have sought out alternatives and tried to create different trade agreements and maybe even currency cooperative agreements with China, specifically to, at times, leverage their relationship that they have with the United States of America. And I've been a longtime advocate in developing European sovereignty and developing sovereignty for countries like Canada. And now, I believe, is the time for these middle powers to be able to develop sovereignty once again. And I fear that if these countries don't do it, specifically Canada, I worry that American domination will at first look like the tariffs negotiations that Donald Trump has seemingly haphazardly thrown around, and then, and in the worst case scenario, complete military annexation. Now that might sound terrifying to you guys, but we have the most peaceful option ahead of us, at least for the time being, because this growth that we are seeing, this change, this nuclear option of trade, this destruction of international agreements that America was not only the safeguard of, but also the architects of, are coming to a close. What comes next is up to all of us. And by that I mean not just international capital owners of different sorts, petty bourgeois, small business owners, mom and pop landlords and the like. I'm talking about you, the people, the workers, you who comprise the masses. And the quicker we develop sovereignty for ourselves, both in our workplaces, both in our universities, the quicker we organize for ourselves, the easier it will be for all of us to preserve said national sovereignty and to hopefully make it as costly as possible for America to continue dominating the world and engineering whatever kind of design they have. I saw a piece of this in action when I went to Minneapolis, because American domination has often put its crosshairs on developing nations, as I've talked about before. We saw in Venezuela, where the American government kidnapped the leader of Venezuela and his wife, and is facilitating a mock trial, a sham trial at this moment. You don't have to love the Venezuelan. You don't have to love the Venezuelan government. You don't have to be a communist or a socialist to recognize what that says for the international order, which was something that many European and even Canadian partners did not recognize initially as they celebrated this action, only to receive the exact same type of lack of autonomy when Donald Trump put his crosshairs on Greenland. It shouldn't take for Trump to go after a white partner country in Europe, a NATO partner country in Europe, for people to wisen up to our grand design. And when I say our, I'm talking about the American government. But the international destabilization that we have caused came back into the home front, as imperialism often does, in the form of fascism. Just as fascism arose from the failures of liberalism only but 100 years ago, the new wave of fascism is no longer seen as a revolutionary movement, but instead a movement away from liberalism. The American Republican Party is now transitioning away from a liberal conservative party to a fascist party. And as fascists often do, they are invested in domination and cruelty for cruelty's sake. And the reason why I brought up Minneapolis, Minnesota, and my experiences there is because, as of today, Tom Homan has decided that they are retreating the ICE occupation that unfolded in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And the only reason, and the only reason that happened was because the people got together, they organized, and they protected their neighbors. And while there was tremendous cruelty, kidnappings taking place on a daily basis, and community defense, and people that got shot and killed like Renee Good and Alex Peretti, rest in power, the people did not stand down under minus 35 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know if you guys use Fahrenheit here. Minus 35-degree Fahrenheit weather. It was very cold. 60,000 people got together and did a day of direct action, somewhat of a general strike. They call it a general strike. It's not the same as the traditional general strike, but there was a day of action. Small businesses from the community also participated in this blackout. And in the aftermath of all of this participation in community defense, ICE was forced to back away. This is the most peaceful option. JFK has said, those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent retribution inevitable. And I fear that violent retribution as the last option, which is why I'm here to talk today to you guys about what it means that the international order is falling apart. The old world is dying. A new world struggles to be born from its ashes. Now is the time for monsters. Gramsci said that. I hope I didn't destroy that quote. I was trying to paraphrase it. And on that note, I think I'm ready to go. I did 15 minutes. I don't even know how I did that. But yeah. Okay, should I just go sit down? I'm gonna do that now.
All right. Yeah, that was great, and clearly they love you.
Yeah, otherwise they would not have sat through that. They would have been like, boo, tomatoes.
Right. But no, I know you feel the love in a lot of places that you go. So I know you just were passing through Nueva York or Afghanistan, as you call it, and you
yeah.
You also, you in part helped make it Afghanistan, which, those of us who are
woke
in New
Sharia.
York. Yeah.
Inshallah, brother.
Islamic Republic of New York. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of love everywhere you go, and I think a lot of people, young people especially, I got tons of students at Fordham University where I teach, and also a lot of students, former students here at UBC who are just so excited about what you do, right? And the fact that you are this massive, prominent voice on the left, it means a lot to a lot of people. At the same time, you got your critics, you got your haters, you address that, and just the fact that,
perhaps too much, that's what they tell me.
Yeah. But I think that, there are some of the criticisms that you get, and so what I wanted to do sort of just early on in some of these early questions is just allow you to just address some of those things.
Get it out of the way.
Get it out the way, and then we can come back to the themes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You came in hot. You were like 15 minutes. Watch this.
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay.
So no, but this is a kind of general question about responsibility. So. Thinking about it in terms of what we do as academics, and podcasters, journalists, and the things that you do, including like the fact that I mean, you just spoke to this, right, with the anti-ICE protests, the fact that you are very much on the ground and you have this form of activism that, I think is really, really admirable and really important to be doing that sort of work. What I'm wondering is, when it comes to the question of responsibility, how do you see that? What do you think, what would you say your primary responsibilities are when it comes to activism and in the world of streaming and sort of just in online spaces more generally?
Yeah, I try to deliver truthful analysis that's both true to myself and true to the facts on the ground to the best of my ability. And I do think about that responsibility all the time. It's something that I try to maintain to the best of my ability, because I understand that for people under the age of 40, I used to say 25, now I'm saying 40, a lot of people see me as their primary news source, something that's open, something that's on in the background throughout their day. It's almost like an 8-hour CNN broadcast. So I try to not maintain a level of professionalism in my commentary necessarily, but definitely maintain a level of professionalism when it comes to verifiable evidence that I address and back my analysis or build my analysis on top of. Unfortunately, in this age of misinformation, with AI, with bad faith actors, the democratization of media has opened up opportunities for unique voices like myself to be heard. Voices that aren't so unique amongst the masses, but voices that are not necessarily represented in mainstream resources, in mainstream outlets, in legacy papers and whatnot. But there's also the other side of that, where there are a lot of people who lean into bias framing without even recognizing their own internal biases, and also sometimes just lie. Lying is OP, as I say all the time. Like, people, you would be shocked if you are unaware, if you only get your news from, I guess, CBC, or that's what people, oh damn, not a lot of CBC fans out here, okay. Well, regardless, if you're only like reading The Guardian and New York Times, I mean, those are biased. They have different biases as well, but overall, they have an interest in trying to maintain a truthful compass to the best of their ability. Sometimes they lean too much into the State Department side of things, for my taste. But there is a whole world out there of people that take advantage of this information vacuum and just kind of make stuff up in whichever way they see fit.
Right.
And I try to combat against that to the best of my ability as well.
Right. Yeah, again, just real sort of testament to the importance of the kind of stuff that you do, right? So there's also this lingering question a lot of people, have been wanting to ask. And so you've been very clear that your criticisms are, when you talk about Israel, for example, that your criticisms are aimed at the Israeli government and not Jewish people in general. And I know that you have many Jewish followers who agree with you on a lot of core issues, right? But even among those who agree with you on the issues, there are some that say that sometimes the way that you express that or the language that you use is, for some, it's not productive. And so I wonder sort of how you think about that trade-off and how you approach it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a question I get all the time. And the way I see what I do, oftentimes people say this is a cop-out, but the way I see what I do is I'm an entertainer first. And as someone who tries to make this information as palatable as possible, I'm always going to, engage in hyperbole from time to time and try to crack jokes, even though a lot of the subject matter that I'm covering is very serious stuff. But I think I want to make it as accessible as possible. So in an effort to do so, there are going to be moments where I'm joking around a little too much, and then people don't like it. But I think that's a valuable trade-off. I think that's totally a valuable trade-off. Another part of the equation, of course, is the constant back and forth communication I have with everyone. Anyone that follows me right now on Twitch, please subscribe, by the way, because this is being streamed on Twitch as well. Piker Broadcasting Service. Anyone that follows me for 10 minutes on Twitch can talk to me in real time. And whether I have 300,000 live concurrent viewers or 30,000 live concurrent viewers, I'm constantly monitoring chat to such a degree that anytime there's a journalist in the room that's covering what I'm doing, they're like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen. How are you paying attention to anything that's going on? And I have this free flow back and forth communication style in my coverage as well that I bake into my coverage as well. And that creates a unique opportunity for bad faith actors from time to time to like really piss me off. I mean, you're a lecturer, it's you, I'm sure you have bad students sometimes that are just annoying. You know what I mean? They come up to you, they're like, nah, that's not what happened actually. I know better. And you're like, I'm your teacher.
It does happen.
Now, of course, there's professional safeguards there. But sometimes, like, imagine if you could just like mute one of your students. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. You should try it. You put them in the dunce corner.
We got online classes, virtual classes.
But yeah, just click, Zoom, kicked out of the room, that sort of thing. But of course, in that dialogue, there are moments that are very passionate because the issues that I'm talking about, I feel for, and I get very impassioned at times. And of course, there are going to be moments of anger that might be unproductive, but that comes with the territory. And I feel like the medium itself has been so good in allowing people to have a say in the process and also learn and be entertained along the way, that I think that's a totally reasonable trade-off for someone like myself.
So would you, just a quick follow-up, would you say sort of provocation too? Is it important for you to be provocative to generate responses?
Provocative as far as my commentary, yes. I mean, I used to have a show on the Young Turks called Agitative Propaganda. I think it's important to do agitative propaganda to unlock the class consciousness among the masses, which is missing from this equation, I think, especially in the Western world. Yeah. But as far as like being provocative to say something crazy, no, that's not beneficial. I know people think that is like the reason why I'm saying certain things, like, you know, whether or not America deserved a certain specific day. But no, that's just coming out of me sometimes when I'm just really angry. But you know what's interesting is, in my experience, what I've found is that other people also share that same resentment. Other people also share that same anger. So when I'm yelling at like a transphobic person, for example, I don't even know if I should say what I yell at them, but, or like a white supremacist racist, or someone who's, you know, denying the genocide in Gaza. Sometimes there are moments of control, and you know, then I get a 7-day ban. It is what it is. Yeah. But that's not deliberate. There's no like, if I had the option to not have those moments, I would choose not to have those moments for sure.
Well, so I mean, since you just mentioned Gaza, and so on Palestine, I have this question, which is, in his book, One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This, Omar El-Akkad powerfully articulated this idea that with regard to the atrocities that have been suffered by the innocent in Palestine, this is how he puts it. One day, things will change. It is not so hard to believe, even during the worst of things, that courage is more potent than contagion, that there are more invested in solidarity than in annihilation, that just as it has always been possible to look away, it is possible to stop looking away. So how do you align yourself in relation to what Omar expresses there? And do you agree with his position? And is this why you have been so vocal about Palestine and about Palestinians?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think people are good people in general. I think everyone is a kind person, but they are sometimes deluded or sometimes propagandized against certain positions and are made fearful of alternative visions of a better future. So I try to remind myself of that all the time, that everyone is, at the end of the day, a victim of social conditioning. And that definitely guides my first principles. It guides my commentary quite a bit. I've been an anti-Zionist, an avowed anti-Zionist for the last 12, 13 years of my professional media career. And there was a time, see, it shouldn't even receive claps, really, because this is the most normal position. And I know it's shared by every single person in here, except for some plants maybe in the audience. But that is just, it's a humanitarian position. It's born out of being anti-genocide, anti-fascist, anti-apartheid. It's what I've learned. And I think that a lot of people have that, a lot of people's starting point is that, and then they work their way away from that with tremendous amounts of social conditioning. So I think it's actually much more difficult to make people turn a blind eye to these atrocities. And there's been a tremendous amount of success in bringing people back to that position of empathy, to that humanitarian perspective. And it's only because of the bravery exhibited by the Palestinians that were even in their final moments, showing exactly what Israel was doing. And I thought of myself living in the imperial core as someone who was profoundly privileged and profoundly fortunate, that the best I could do was offer a voice to that voiceless, offer a voice to that perspective to the best of my ability, in spite of all the setbacks set by, you know, numerous advocacy organizations, lobbying efforts in deplatforming and censorship, because it was the least I could have done. Because I knew that inevitably people were going to wake up to what was happening, and I think we're there now. We're there, that the overwhelming majorities of even Western society have now realized that this is untenable. A 14th century style siege taking place, a live Holocaust taking place in real time on people's phones that they can see in real time. I mean, this is completely unacceptable, and I think part of the reason why I do it is because I don't want those who were slain to die in vain, and part of it is because I want to preserve the safety and security of those that remain.
So well said. Appreciate you speaking to that. So, I mean, we want to get to the, a lot of the core issues, and I think some of these were things that you addressed already in the introduction that you gave. And so, part of this will be kind of circling back to things that you said and then just kind of elaborating on them. So, of course, we're going to want to talk more about Canada and about U.S. foreign policy in particular. So, again, you already spoke about this briefly, but when it comes to the views on Canada and the current government and the direction under Mark Carney. Mark Carney has openly expressed a desire to shift away from the U.S. toward China and other nations.
Vis-a-vis travel to China, baby. Can't beat it.
And so you already said this sort of in the lead up about the liberal international order and how that is in a sense in decay, right? And so Stephen Walt of Harvard Kennedy School, he saw this, Mark Carney's sort of fairly recent comments as an example of a significant moment of rupture in the whole liberal international order, right? And you also said in January, and again, kind of just repeated it here, that liberalism is essentially falling apart. So, the question is, for you to sort of elaborate on that, to elaborate on your perspective, again, why you think that is the case, and especially why Canada and the Canadian government's recent position is a good sort of indicator of that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I hope that Mark Carney follows through on that promise, and it's not simply empty posturing, and he's simply saying that so that he can cut a better deal with Donald Trump at the end of the day. Because it is a matter of life and death. It's always been a matter of life and death for those in the global south, because the liberal international order, the New World design post-World War II, was very quickly and very effectively developed as a way to whip up support against this new front in the Cold War, against communism, against socialism. And that was a dual polar world back then. And it's obvious that in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR, it was a unipolar world. It was the American hegemony. And since the 90s, I attribute a lot of the accelerated demise of Western liberal capitalist countries to the lack of competition, lack of ideological competition. I don't know if that's like a unique perspective in general. I feel like many people understand it to a certain degree, whether it be the expansion of welfare states in social democratic countries that are close enough to the USSR in order to not succumb to the threat of a good alternative, a scary alternative that might work. But I think the accelerated Thatcherite, Reaganite ideology of neoliberalism, what some people call late-stage capitalism, happened because of that lack of competition. And basically, I'm saying is that capitalists are victims of their own success. They Sigma grindset it too hard, and now they have endless appetite for profits to the best of their ability, and for that reason, they have been dominating the most malleable aspect of production, which is labor. First, they went out and sought out markets that had cheaper alternatives for labor, and then they decided to continue dominating their own domestic labor force to the best of their ability. So I think what I'm trying to get at in this long-winded answer is that this design was never beneficial for many countries in the periphery. It actually meant endless militarism, instability, puppet states that were established, and complete domination and bloodshed, sanctions at times. And now, I think Europe and Canada are getting a little bit of that same taste as well, in ways that they never thought, perhaps due to Western chauvinism, never thought that they would experience. So I hope that it's, like I said, not empty promises from Mark Carney, but a real testament, a real commitment to making sure that we find a more peaceful path forward for every single party involved, and not just an opportunity for middle powers to basically secure better trade negotiations and continue business as usual politics.
So would you say that when it comes to your position as being on the left, essentially socialist, Marxist, Marx famously said that capitalism is going to produce its own gravediggers, right?
Yeah.
It is already when he wrote that at the time. So when it comes to the sort of the actualization of that, do you think that it is still, do you look at it kind of similar to Marx as an inevitability, especially under these current conditions and, as you just described it?
Yes and no, because I think the expansive welfare states have given a lifeline over and over again to thwart domestic instability, and it's been very effective. I mean, America has destroyed labor militancy. I promise you, it's so bad in the United States of America that we have, I think, 9% labor union participation in the overall workforce, which is 6% lower than Chile, a country that we specifically dominated because they had they made the mistake of voting for a democratic socialist. We couped them and we installed Pinochet. And it was a neoliberal testing ground. And even then, right now in modern Chile, they have a higher labor union participation in the United States of America. So it's been very effective in undermining any sort of left mobilization. And so for that reason, I think, capital owners are very effective at engaging in class warfare and have been able to delude even regular working class people into believing that they are simply not an exploited proletariat, but temporarily embarrassed millionaires and billionaires. So for that reason, I think there is still, no matter how much domination exists, there is still this attitude amongst the dispossessed masses that things are probably fine. You know, I can go to Tim Hortons down the street and get what are they called? The little Timbits, yeah, little Timbits, or I can go to McDonald's and get a Big Mac, and there is some truth to that. I mean, I think treats play a big role in sedating the masses for sure, but conditions haven't worsened yet. I think conditions have not gotten to the degree that it got to during the Great Depression, for example, but it does worry me that the right-wing forces internationally are aware of the collapse of the previous order, and they're trying to get ahead of it to the best of their ability by organizing in a fascist direction as fast as possible.
And I mean, we've been seeing that in parts of Latin America, right? And so, I mean, this is a good sort of pivot to this question. And since you just mentioned Chile, right? So the U.S., of course, has had a long history of intervention in Latin America. Anybody who studies this and knows about it, we know it has a long history. Guatemala in 1954, Chile in 1973, as you said, Nicaragua from 1981 onward, and just like the list goes on, right? There's almost no country in Latin America that has not been touched by U.S. military intervention. There is, though, in the case of Venezuela recently, there seems to be something really different in some ways, right? Because a lot of those interventions, that's like the ones in the 20th century, they tended to happen largely through, covert operations, the CIA, and forms of subterfuge, and it was often sort of like, it wasn't out in the open. But what we just saw in Venezuela just over a month ago, right? And again, you already spoke to this. Just the way that the U.S. operated in that situation, and Trump's like very brutal kind of bluntness about why they were doing it, literally coming out and saying we're going in for the oil, like there's something sort of different in a sense, right? In how the U.S. is conducting itself abroad, and again, especially in Latin America. So, you've spoken about this issue, I know, at length. And you've addressed them many times, and not to mention on the importance of Cuba and what's been going on there, this horrible sort of the embargo and the blockade and the effects that that's having. What do you think these cases of, the recent case of Venezuela, and then also what is going on in Cuba, what do you think this says about how U.S. foreign policy operates nowadays?
I mean, it's vulgar imperialism. I mean, in some ways, it's out in the open, and the brazen ways in which Trump operates, saying the quiet part out loud, I guess makes my job a little bit easier. And that's a weird thing to say, because like these are things that I've talked about for years. American imperialism didn't happen overnight. It didn't start with Donald Trump. Donald Trump has basically brought it to the forefront, and doesn't try to hide it under some kind of liberal international order patina that previous iterations of American governance has done, whether it be George W. Bush going out with Colin Powell and lying to the entirety of the United Nations, and at least like presenting a reason as to why military intervention is a necessity, and utilizing the mainstream resources, mainstream media in an effort to justify what came after. Trump is not doing that. He's just saying, look, I'm going to Venezuela. They got oil. I'm going to take it. And there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes he tries, it'll be like, oh yeah, they are narco traffickers. And then they drop that immediately. And they're like, no, actually, just kidding. They're not narco traffickers. I was just playing. I just wanted to get the oil. And in a way, I think it's a really tough time to be one of these like NATO Atlanticists, or one of these like liberal analysts that writes for Foreign Policy magazine, because everything that Donald Trump is doing is a play-by-play of what Lenin does, the necessity for imperialism. And I don't know where we go from here as far as like whether people recognize that as wrong. I try to exhaust the contradictions to the best of my ability to explain to people, like pointing to previous examples of failure with the global war on terror, even though it was very successful for the military-industrial complex, with ballooning contracts. It was great for Halliburton. It was great for development in the region and extraction of natural resources in the region for all of these massive conglomerates. Americans, by and large, didn't experience that economic prosperity, right? The concept of labor aristocracy is valid, it's true. Having said that, Americans never really got to experience the benefits of American empire all that much. So I try to use that to the best of my ability to say, look, what we're doing in Venezuela, what we're trying to do in Cuba, this vulgar imperialism is not even beneficial for you. So we must organize against it. We must chart a different path forward, one that focuses on international cooperation rather than endless domination. I don't know if that message is being well received by the right. I will say many of them voted for Donald Trump because they thought he was anti-war, or at least that's what they tell me. And then Donald Trump will come out and be like, we're invading Venezuela for oil. And then boom, you see the approval rating on that military action. It skyrockets on the right. They're like, oh, that's awesome. That's what I wanted, actually, all along. I really wanted Exxon to have a better quarter. That's what I wanted all along. I don't need to pay rent. I don't care about that at all. I forgot about the grocery bill. So not sure what it will do. I think maybe we'll see more and more people self-identify as fascists, or maybe self-identify as whatever the MAGA train looks like, whatever the MAGA movement looks like. And we are kind of seeing that even here in Canada with the Albertan separatist movement. Oh my God, it's just, please don't give Alberta to us. I know many of you think, because I'm sorry, Canadians are either some of the best people that come to America or the worst, and nothing in between. Okay? You either, you get like, he's right. Steven Crowder, Stefan Molyneux, half of the New York Times op-ed writers. I think David Brooks, right? He might. Tom McDonald, oh my God. That's what I mean. Ted Cruz. What the hell was that? Yeah, Jordan Peterson. Okay, you guys are dunking on your own country too much. But yeah, there are too many Canadians in America ruining, leaning into American fascism a little too much for my taste. But I forgot where I was going with that. I just, as soon as I start thinking about all these right-wing Canadians, I'm like, build the wall. No, I'm kidding.
Not such a bad idea. So, okay, I had a follow-up about, about Venezuela and this general criticism of the U.S., right? And that's, I think, part of like the thread that runs through all this. So, like, you've been, of course, very critical of U.S. actions abroad in general, U.S. foreign policy. And one of the things you also talked about, though, when it, again, as it came to the case of Venezuela, was, they have been facing a very repressive government. As you said, you don't have to necessarily agree with or want somebody like Maduro in power, but you could be critical of what the U.S. has done there, right? So could you maybe say more about and just elaborate on why you focus most of your criticism on the U.S., on its allies, and even sort of like on the West more generally? And what do you think about sort of what happens on the other side in terms of like the fact that there are, a lot of very repressive authoritarian governments? And so on, just that whole question of like liberation and supposedly going into like help these nations that have repressive governments. What are your thoughts on that? What happens on the other side?
I don't think America wants to help any of these countries. Let's just get that right out of the. Let's just make that very clear, right? So I think that's a transparent lie. When America says, "Oh, we're coming to help out," just run. Okay, it's not. They're not coming to help out at all. They're only there to prop up the Chamber of Commerce and get like the agribusiness sector leaders to run the country, as they've tried to do in Venezuela many times over. Sometimes it's a vengeance quest. In the case of the endless destabilization in Haiti, or even in Cuba, our strangling of Cuba in its final iteration, but even in the aftermath of the successful revolution in Cuba, just punishing them because our ally that propped up sugar plantations failed, right? In this like incredibly repressive structure that existed. But as far as like repressive regimes around the world, I have a different outlook on this than the average American does, because I grew up in Turkey, and what I saw in Turkey, which is again a country that is the second largest military in NATO, a country that has had tremendous amounts of intervention, oftentimes overlooked by America, in an attempt to create a bulwark against the USSR and directly place missile bases in the vicinity of the USSR, in the immediate area that the USSR existed in, and because of that, our domestic politics has never been the same. There was a complete destruction of all sorts of different revolutionary Kurdish movements, workers' movements in my country, communist movements, socialist movements that were effectively destroyed by ultranationalists, which is a story that has played itself out in virtually every single Western European NATO ally country as well, to varying degrees. So I come from that background, and I recognize that American intervention oftentimes works with some of the most reactionary forces in the country to create some semblance of stability that is cooperative with American interests around the globe. And outside of that, though, I also recognize that when there is any additional attempt at intervention, like the coup d'etat that failed in Turkey that I wrote about for the Huffington Post, which is part of the reason why I can't go back to Turkey. They didn't like that, even though I said it was a CIA operation, which I believe it is, propped up by a CIA asset named Fethullah Gülen, who is understandably branded as a terrorist and a terrorist movement. This coup d'etat failed, and in the aftermath, there was more repression. And there was also a hardening of the otherwise the government that was falling out of favor leading up to this coup. So that's usually what many countries around the world experience. Whenever there's any sort of like direct Western instability and Western intervention, a lot of the more repressive forces come out and say, we are the only people who are truly anti-West. And in the region that we're both from, that expression is oftentimes fundamentalist, right? I think you know where I'm going with this, with the Iranian Revolution. Yeah. The justification for the repression that came after, especially like the destruction of communist movements and all of that. Before that, it was a popular revolution against Western intervention and a Western-backed puppet, and we here in the West don't have the capacity to interpret that. We don't have the capacity to analyze that. We just look at it and go, "Oh, those are barbaric Muslims. Those are barbaric third worldists and people from the third world. They don't understand. It's just they're too invested in Islam or something, right? And they can't comprehend that, like, for a lot of people, the wounds that they experience, the loss of life that they see, the sometimes torturous conditions that they're put through as a direct byproduct of American intervention, is the reason why they lean into some of the more repressive elements in the country, because those repressive elements might be seen as liberatory. And that's my analysis whenever I talk about like more repressive forms of governance that are in the periphery outside of the security umbrella of the United States.
Yeah, and I feel you on that. So when it comes to Iran, this is something that, I've been thinking about a lot and, trying to articulate what is actually happening and what has happened in the latest protests, especially since early January. And there are all of these elements in those protests that have taken place recently in Iran that are, a lot of them are very troubling, right? There's this question of to what extent are they organic in terms of what people in Iran are actually demanding and how much of it is from foreign interference. But there's of course the reality that, a lot of that has been long in the making, right? There have been waves and waves for decades of protest movements within Iran, but again, those have grown organically, right? They are demands that Iranians have been making against their government. And so I'm also of the view, I completely see what you're saying when it comes to that case against foreign intervention. We have today in the Iranian diaspora especially, there is a noticeable kind of split, right, between these pro-monarchist groups or those who at least, have come to believe that the so-called crown prince, Reza Pahlavi, who's the son of the late Shah, that he somehow represents, liberation, right? And that he's
the one to chill in Maryland. That's I don't think he even wants to do it. I feel like Lindsey Graham went to him and was like, you got to do this. And he's come on.
He has not had an actual real job. He knows. So one of the things that, has been, I think, really troubling about this kind of discourse has been that the people who have been sort of backing him among the diaspora, again, think that there's something like a viable alternative there, right? And that somebody like him, he's going to bring about supposedly a secular democratic Iran. And this gets back to that point about on the flip side of it, it's if you disagree with that, then you are a terrorist supporter, et cetera, right? And
I'm used to it.
Yeah.
I'm whatever, at this point.
Socialist-oriented Muslim man, who would have thought that you get heat? But so again, I feel you on all of that. The question I think that remains in the case of Iran and that I think is really pressing is that because so much of that actual, resistance that is happening within Iran, the organic resistance by the people themselves, there are legitimate claims that people are making, right, in terms of forms of freedom that they genuinely want to fight for, and they don't necessarily want foreign intervention. And I know this to be the case for a lot of Iranians who are actually inside the country, who I'm always communicating with. And so, what do you think of that when it comes to this question of legitimate resistance on the part of the people themselves, without foreign intervention, and fighting for a more sort of democratic future, but on the people's own terms?
Yeah, I think American, and in the case of Iran, Israeli intervention especially, which is just basically American intervention, let's be real, ends up harming the movements, at least in terms of the way that the majority, or not even the majority, but a significant chunk of the population sees the legitimacy of it. And I feel as though, at least in my advocacy, I focus on trying to do my part as an American citizen. Oftentimes my statements fall on deaf ears, but I think the best possible thing we could do, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me on this, is to try and stop starving the Iranian population through the sanctions regime that we have implemented. Because I do believe that Western intervention legitimizes I don't believe it's legitimate what the government is doing, but I do believe that, at least in the eyes of their own, loyalist population, which is a significant percentage, right, 20 to 30%, it legitimizes the violent actions that they take anytime. And then it's not an accident that when Mike Pompeo comes out and says, Mossad agents are in the crowd with you, of course the Ayatollah is going to use that as a talking point to say, see, we had to slaughter all these people because they're openly admitting it themselves. And I feel I feel as though if the people had more of an opportunity to be able to organize to the best of their ability without having to suffer starvation as an impact of these sanctions, they would have a better opportunity to admit sovereign, secular democratic result for their own country. Maybe I'm too optimistic, but that's the only pathway that I can see, at least judging by like my own personal interactions with Turkish people and how much they despise the country and how much they rallied around the Erdogan administration in spite of their overall hatred for the Erdogan administration when the coup happened. So I think Western intervention is often not going to yield the success that Western nations want, and it's better to allow people to have their own real revolution, especially considering that, I mean, Iranian people are very resilient and maybe sometimes not even invested in any sort of outside help, sometimes to a detriment. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that like there was a reason why the Iranian Revolution took place, and it would behoove the IRGC and the Ayatollah to remember that when dealing tremendous amounts of repression and suppression to the public, instead of listening to their demands and trying to find a more manageable solution, if that is at all possible at this point.
Yeah, and you've now that you mentioned this point about revolutionary optimism, and we're going to come back to that point. There's also, just as you were speaking, to that point about sanctions, which I think you put really well. And there's a book called How Sanctions Work by Vali Nasr and Nargis Bajogli, who I think really goes to illustrate that point about how so much of what has been happening in Iran for a very long time now is due to that pressure of sanctions and the economic hardship that has fallen on people. And I think it's great that you've also pointed to the importance of the fact that people are fighting for freedom, and this is a genuine sort of movement as well. So there's a question, and I want to also include audience questions in here. I also have questions from some of my brilliant students at Fordham, and there was this one question from Sophia who asks. This is getting back to on the role of social media, and how speaking about all of these types of issues, including American foreign policy, but also just in terms of political mobilization. This is how the question is framed. So on the role of social media, we're constantly witnessing political crises, violence, and collective mobilizations unfold in real time through our screens, which can create the sensation of hypervisibility and participation. At the same time, and I don't know if you want to speak about what's happening on the far right on certain platforms, but the far right movements continue to grow, right? In part through similar digital platforms. So, what do you think about how we confront this kind of contradiction between digital visibility and the simultaneous strengthening of exclusionary authoritarian politics?
Yeah, I think the far right's mobilization on digital platforms still stems from the fact that they get a lot of financial backing and are not seen as antagonistic to the right-wing administrations. Left-wing mobilization, on the other hand, requires grassroots support and is often antagonistic to liberals, which is the only expression of major left-flank politics in the United States of America, at least. So, for that reason, I mean, any opportunity that we have as leftists, we should seize on. So I do think that the digital grounds for organizing is still good, as long as there's still a focus on meeting one another in the real world and participate in regular society. Otherwise, all you're doing is posting on the internet. And as a prolific poster myself, I recognize that it might feel good at the time, but you're not really accomplishing any serious results doing just that. But I think overall, you like I said, you have to take every advantage that you possibly can, and I do think that the digital space has created opportunities to build communities, communities that are sustainable, communities that can be productive. I try to use mine to the best of my ability. I try to urge people to organize. I try to urge people to move in the direction of labor unions and community organizing in general, and do fundraisers, and try to participate to the best of our ability in both broadening people's awareness on certain injustices that are taking place, but then also directly get involved as well. As far as right-wing mobilization goes, I mean, they're somewhat rudderless, they're somewhat directionless, because they are reactionary at the end of the day, and the only way that they organize is at the state level. But that is, from at least my calculations, that's just backed by capital in general. So they're going to do that no matter what. So I say we focus on our own initiatives, and we focus on creating community defense, and hopefully bring back labor militancy to a certain degree.
So very much that importance of, it's got to be accompanied by on-the-ground activities, right, and activism. So I'm going to bring in sort of more audience questions as well. As I got one more question for you that's from me. So this is on belonging and in-betweenness, right? And since you also spoke about, being from Turkey and things that you've experienced. So Edward Said, who, I take a lot of inspiration from, he memorably wrote about this experience of exile and sort of being in between, and the experience of migration. And this is something that, I think about. I have also recently been venturing into this world of like podcasts as well. And so, I addressed this with one of my colleagues and friends. We have a podcast called Politics in the Exilic City. Just quick plug on that. So you were doing your plug. I'm gonna do my plug too real quick. And it's essentially inspired by this whole sort of this question of like why that is significant, especially for us, for people like us in this day and age. And the way that Said talks about this in relation to his identity as a Palestinian and being displaced from Palestine. He had this experience of course, moving to the U.S. and having this whole academic career there. But when he made that move, right, and especially when he was in New York City, he described it in these terms. He said that belonging to both sides of the imperial divide allows you to understand them more easily, right, both sides, and that it creates these kinds of generative possibilities for what he called a double perspective. So I'm wondering, like in your case, having made these moves, do you think in any way along those terms, between your experiences between Turkey and the U.S., would you say you think about that in similar terms? And also, how do you envision your place in the U.S. And in the world generally in the years to come?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I look and sound American to a fault, right? Even though I grew up in Turkey until I was 18 years old, and that's somewhat of a product of American culture exported everywhere around the world. And I grew up, I call myself a Marabou, like a weeb, but for America. And I grew up being fascinated by American culture, the American dream. As many people who migrate to the West also have a similar experience. And those dreams were shattered as soon as I got the first hospital bill. I was like, this is ridiculous. That's crazy. You guys don't know that here in Canada. We yeah.
Can't relate.
Well, yet, unfortunately, because you also have the same, capitalist forces that are doing their very best to implement austerity and then bring the private sector in. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's devastating. When you go down to the south, when you go past that border, is really bad. I don't need to tell you; you probably know. But anyway. My perspective is totally guided by my experience growing up in Turkey, and then living half of my life at this point in the United States of America. And I think it gives me unique insight, but I think it also helps me become a more effective communicator, because I have the capacity to, I guess, somewhat disarm the Western audiences by, talking like an American, but with a very different framework that I operate off of, especially as it pertains to what I consider to be this last bastion of American defense, which happens to be imperialism. Most people just take that for granted or don't even think about it, or are conditioned, at least in my experience, to go, oh, you don't like American military action, you're an outsider, you're an enemy. I'm very fortunate that I have a wonderful audience that has been much more open-minded than I ever thought they would be as far as hearing this perspective. Having said that, that's how I use this duality to my advantage. My experiences growing up in Turkey, that allows me to develop a different understanding of being on the receiving end of American intervention, and then my experiences in America as an American citizen make it easier for me to communicate with Americans.
So I had one audience question that is specifically about this, actually, which is on the differences between Democrats and Republicans in the United States. So you've often said that when it comes to, for example, coming back to the question of Gaza and Palestine, that also on questions of foreign policy, that a lot of times, Democrats and Republicans don't really seem that far apart, that there isn't like a major difference between them. Yeah. So, for people who
liberals get really mad when you say that.
Yeah.
They get so mad, and it's like, well, okay, where's Chuck Schumer? Like, where's Hakeem Jeffries?
But you got some people who, as you say, they get kind of angered by that, and then there are people who kind of like might find, they have sort of like a criticism of that, right? And this is sort of what has been popping up in some of the questions in the audience. So for people who say that kind of tends to flatten the differences, right? Or it is equating like Democrats and Republicans. Like, what's your response to that? Do you think that we should also think about what actually separates them? Or, do you think that it's actually necessary to frame it that way, that they're not that far apart on a lot of issues like that?
Yeah, I mean, from the perspective of Hossam Shabbat, who unfortunately was assassinated by the state of Israel under the watchful gaze of the Biden administration, it doesn't make a difference whether or not Raytheon is flying the LGBTQ banner or is anti-woke, right? From the perspective of the victims, it's all the same. It's more death and more destruction. And obviously there are differences between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, but when it comes to foreign policy, I'm not actually flattening that experience. It's just I'm looking at it from the experience of the recipient, the victims of empire. And from their perspective, there doesn't seem to be a lot of difference. Otherwise, I'd ask the people in Yemen if it felt different when Obama was bombing them, as opposed to Donald Trump bombing them, as opposed to Biden bombing them, as opposed to Trump bombing them again, right? It makes no difference to them whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, because every president has to bomb Yemen. I think. I don't know if it's in the Constitution or not, but that's just what they've been doing so far, and that's basically what it is. I think a lot of Americans don't want to recognize that, and they also don't want to understand that what I want is a real anti-imperialist party. So when I communicate that to my electeds, when I talk about this with people who are consulting for the Democratic Party, when I talk to politicians both on camera and off camera, this is what I try to communicate to them, that if you want people to see that you are different, that you're charting a different path, then you have to communicate that. You can't be shy about saying it out loud. And I think that having demonstrating this moral backbone will be beneficial down the line, even from an electoral perspective. We've seen that now with the tide shift that took place on Gaza. I think before October 7, you would get punished if you actually were outspoken about the plight of Palestinians. And now, if you dare to say that you're pro-Israel, at least on the Democratic Party side, a lot of people are going to yell at you and might not even vote for you. I mean, we're seeing as the midterms are coming up, we're seeing this be a major point of contention, a way to show that you're earnest, show that you're different from other politicians. Many people in the primaries are positioning themselves as being anti-Israel. So there's electoral benefit as well. Not only is it the morally correct position, really beneficial position too. So I try to stress that to the best of my ability, and hope that maybe one of these two major parties will truly present an anti-imperialist path forward, one that recognizes the dignity and sovereignty of nations and doesn't see them as simple collateral damage in our endless profit seeking.
Right. Yes, sir. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a very related question that's popped up a lot in the audience questions. So, at the level of institutions, when it comes to countering those kinds of things, do you think that universities generally should be looking more at divestment? So, for example, UBC, other universities.
Absolutely. Yes. You're going to get in trouble. Yes, of course. I'm a massive advocate for boycotts, divestments, and sanctions on the state of Israel. 100%. It's the least we could do. And it's been successful in the past. I mean, this is exactly what happened with apartheid South Africa. And unfortunately, apartheid South Africa's close ally, apartheid Israel, recognized how devastating that was for South Africa. So they took the initiative to make sure that it doesn't work in the Western world. But absolutely, I think profiteering off of these war crimes is morally unconscionable. And once again, it goes back to the argument that I was presenting earlier. It's the most peaceful solution to sever ties with Israel to the best of our ability, to participate in cultural boycotts, to, at least in the most peaceful ways, punish the state of Israel for engaging in these heinous crimes. If we're really anti-genocide, we have to do that. It's the bare minimum, in my opinion.
So this is kind of, again, it's going to lead us to thinking about the question of real, genuine things that could be done for the betterment of the world and of those who suffer under these kinds of conditions. One of the things that tends to predominate in a lot of ways these days is the question of doomerism, right? That so many people find it really difficult to maintain a sense of hope in the face of everything that is happening around us. So how do you think, and then we'll kind of approach the question one more time in a different way after this too, but generally, how do you think we deal with doomerism?
Solidarity. Solidarity is the antidote to the poison of divisiveness. Our capital overlords want us to be fighting one another all the time, neighbor against neighbor, sectarian conflict, ethnicities, all of this stuff. But in my experience, I feel alienated when I'm at home, when I'm in front of a computer. But in my experience, going all around the world, participating in protests, tasting the tear gas and pepper spray of French police and American police and, police of all different backgrounds, I can tell you that when you're in that crowd with like-minded individuals who are singularly focused, who recognize right from wrong, solidarity is the closest expression to love that I have ever felt with my fellow man, no matter where I go. And that's precisely how I maintain revolutionary optimism.
So, you know, the last question I want to ask you is to really delve into the meaning and the ways to actualize that kind of revolutionary optimism, right? And what it means to you. And I know that you have spoken about this, you know, very, very powerfully in sort of speeches that you've given. What would you say it looks like? Like, what is, if you had to elaborate finally on this question of revolutionary optimism, what does it mean? What does it look like in the future?
I think we have to recognize the small victories that we take and hold on to them, and recognize that in order to build the society, the future that we want to see, the future that we all envision, that is better for everyone around the world, we cannot cast aside small victories, no matter how silly it may seem. It can be converting one of your close loved ones, bringing them back to reality. It can be receiving a better contract at the end of a strike, work stoppage, or it could be participating in activism. It could be participating in these mass demonstrations and then getting the American government to pull back from occupying your streets like we saw in Minneapolis. It can also sometimes even mean voting for a candidate for the first time that makes you feel like your voice mattered, in spite of all of the odds stacked against Zohran Mamdani in New York City. Both the establishment Democrats and the entirety of the Republican Party came after him, and people went out in the streets, they went out, they protested, they voted for Zohran Mamdani, and now at the heart of Capitol in New York City, you have a 34-year-old Muslim socialist, anti-Zionist mayor for the first time ever. So while things feel hopeless overall, I hold on to moments like that and remind myself that there are more of us than there are of them. There are more of us out here that recognize right from wrong than there are of those who seek to divide us. And that is what's important, and that's what helps me maintain my revolutionary optimism. Solidarity forever.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Thank you. Thank you. This was fantastic.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right.
Are we getting up? Thank you for coming, guys.